Today I've got an Xbox Series X with a damaged HDMI port. I'm going to flip this around, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it from there, but this thing is pretty messed up. I do like to flip it around this way when I'm taking it apart, and try not to shake the table too much. What we're going to do is start by removing this sticker right here and peeling back this sticker far enough to get to the hidden screw. If you want, you can take it off all the way, but I like to just kind of lay it back on top so we can keep it looking as factory as possible. Well, I guess it's impossible to really keep my screwdriver on the camera all the way. You will want to keep these screws organized. You've got a green one here, green one over here. I'll go ahead and set these and this little sticker onto a magnetic mat. Alright, from here we're going to pry this panel, and you'll see that you start over here at the edge. It's pretty easy to get underneath. Pointed end of the spudger comes in very handy for this one, and we've got a couple little tabs here that go underneath there. So we take that off. We've got 3 screws here for the fan. Alright, let's get that screw. And a little dust. There's that. Fan plugs in right here. You can just kind of grab this and very gently wiggle it back and forth and pull, and that will come unplugged, and the fan lifts right out. We've got a screw here for the disk drive, and then we're also going to have to remove this little round thing on the side. I'll show you here in just a second. Okay, now this is a little tricky, probably going to be very difficult to see on camera, but there is a tab. Let's see if we can zoom in here. Let's see. Okay, so right down in here we've got a tab, and I don't know if this spudger will do it, but we'll give it a shot. You're gonna, let's see, you're gonna come in right here, right inside this little hole, and as you push in, that's going to release a tab that allows you to rotate this sideways on the, let's see, let's keep it in the camera here. So if you go counterclockwise just a tiny bit, that's going to let you turn that panel and take this piece off from the end. So again, that was just from the side here. Push in against that tab, and that's going to go counterclockwise a tiny bit, and then it pops right off. Once you do that, we're going to have another set of screws here that need to come out. You've got 3 green and 2 black screws. All these green ones are interchangeable. But about as easy as it gets on this one, because from here on, most of the screws are, well, fun to keep track of. You definitely want to be organized with this device. Now, once you've got those out, that is going to release this cover for the disk drive, which kind of wedges in right up here in the corner. So if you have to, you can go down here again with your spudger, just give it a little push, and that will release this tab. From here, the only thing holding the disk drive in place will be these two cables, so we'll go ahead and disconnect those. And these can be tricky. This is a SATA, of course, which would be the easy one, if you can get a grip on it. Sometimes we can come underneath. Yeah, that's not working. Okay, and a little wiggle, and those will come unplugged. There's our disk drive. From here, we're going to release two cables. So one of these we're going to push down on. The other one actually has to flip open. Well, let's see if we can get this into the camera shot. So this larger one has a tab that's going to lift up from inside. Hopefully you can see that. That just lifts up like so. Pull this tab out, and this will just slide out like so. On the other one, we're going to have to apply some pressure from the top. And I know that's hidden right now, but behind here, there's a pressure plate. If you push down on it, it's going to allow you to slide this cable right out. Okay, once we get to this point, we just want to peel this wide cable off from the side, like so. And don't worry about this tape. We can always replace that if we need to. Just make sure you don't damage the cable. Peel that back, and once that's detached, we can take out the inside of our console, set this shell somewhere else, and now's the fun part. First thing to do is remove this little rubber belt. So I'm actually going to flip this all the way over so that you can see it's going to unclip like this, and as you rotate it, it comes right off. It's very easy to tell the orientation when you put this back together because of the way that it's shaped and the indentations on various parts of the machine. We'll get all the way over, and it is out. Just fell on the floor. Now I'm going to flip it again. We are going to end up taking this out, so I'll tell you what, while we're in this position, I'm going to go ahead and take out these 3 screws. And I'd recommend you just set these next to the Wi-Fi board so as not to forget where they came from. Okay, this is going to lift straight up just like that. That's the connector. Okay, here's the fun part. We've got tons of screws. A couple of them are going to be hard to get on camera. You can see there's one over here, 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 here. There's actually one underneath this panel. We've got one here, 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 3 over here, 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 and there's one over here in the corner. So I'm going to start with this one since you can't see it. And that is going to be a long screw, same as this one up here at the top. And then we'll just go across, as I mentioned, black screw here. And silver one in the middle. You get the idea. Now we're gonna open this up, probably shake the table. Okay, and this cable comes out from under here like that. We'll take this little panel off over here, and you'll see that there's another screw beneath that. So again, organizing this your screws as you go along is critical if you want to not waste a lot of time. So we are going to have to take this screw out, but I'm going to call this the second layer in so that we don't get confused. And just remember, this screw goes in underneath that panel. Right, we've got one more screw right over here. So let's go ahead and get this guy out, and we'll put that in the first pile. All right, so now we can go ahead and remove this panel. And of course, our power supply has another cable that goes down in here and through this little plastic deal. So we're going to unclip this. You just squeeze on this one and it'll lift right off. These two we can leave, not important. This one is going to have a release on the inside. So over here, you need to kind of push in right there as you're lifting. And this one's tricky. Let's see if we can do that. Okay, so again, pointy end of the spudger, very useful for this particular console, but this is what we were releasing right here. Okay, from here, we need to get it through this little dude, so if you open that up, cable comes through, and we can lift off our power supply. Okay, we need to remove this cable, so you're going to hold everything together, because if you don't, it's about to lift off. And we're going to squeeze at the ends here, grab the plastic tab, and this should come up if you just give it a little wiggle back and forth. Remember to have pressure on the sides because you don't want to break off the corners here. These are what lock this thing onto the board. From here we can kind of just fish this through like so. And this can go aside. Alright, so this cable doesn't technically need to be removed, but I prefer not to work with it on here. So same type of release mechanism, squeeze it on the edges, and you can just like wiggle it back and forth and it'll come right out. Just make sure you don't damage these little corners. Don't know what to do if that happens. Now the fun part, of course, is removing this thing. You can see how badly our HDMI port is damaged at this point. If you take a look there, it's pretty chewed up. But this thing right here is fun because it's got a whole bunch of indentations here. Again, let's come in closer. So you can see everywhere there's a little tiny dot. These things are hooked onto the panel that's underneath it. So I don't really have a great way to remove this. We want to do it without distorting anything more than necessary. But that's always fun because they don't always like to cooperate. But if you come in kind of like this, sometimes you get lucky. This one doesn't seem terrible so far. Flat side of the spudger seems to be the way to go here. And we'll hit this corner. Yeah, they can bend out a bit. If they do, you can always fix them up later. I'm try not to make any more work than necessary, and I think I'm shaking the whole table, so need something a little finer to get inside. All right. Now what you don't want to do, of course, is pry anything over here, because if you do, you'll be putting pressure on what's beneath. So I'd steer clear of this area. Same with over here, and just keep working at it. Eventually, you should be able to just kind of work your way along the edge and get this thing to open up, I hope. If anyone has an easier way to doing this, go ahead and leave a comment, because this is really annoying. This is not fun. All right. That part popped out. We should be able to kind of keep going here. There we go. And we'll just kind of push it over to the side that we're working on to kind of lift away from where it's attached. Again, it's always fun. There we go. All right, so there's that. If any of these got bent out of shape, you can always bend them back. It's pretty soft metal. Okay. All right. There's one. And that's pretty much it. From here, we're just going to split this thing open. Very carefully, don't go deep. Just enough to get inside and pull it apart. Because there may be other things inside that you don't want to damage. Alright, so from here, lift it up, and you can see there's our APU, GPU, CPU, whatever they are calling it these days, and old thermal paste that we'll be replacing. From here, we'll be able to get this bad boy off from right here. So I'm going to hit this at 420 Celsius with 120 liters of air per minute. Okay, that's a new one. This dude actually stuck. Alright, we did lose a pad, as you can see. This one had some pretty serious abuse, but not a big deal. And these are typically not gonna, unless you have a soldering iron way hotter than mine, just not gonna do it on its own. So we're gonna cut a little wick and make things easier. Okay, you're gonna go here. And we out of focus already. There we go. And you get to go here. Not the only way to do this, but it works. I prefer it. We have plenty of flux and plenty of heat. A lot of solder. Alright, there's one. And there's 2. That one's a little easier. Just be careful not to fling this solder wick onto your hand, because it burns. Doesn't feel great, and it sticks, which makes it worse. What's going on here? Huh. Got a little tiny leftover there. Shouldn't be important. But, just to be safe, okay, so we are good there. And you know what? Oh, that's interesting. So that pad is on the inside. So we're going to have to do the jumper before we put the port on. I was hoping to do it from the outside, but that's not possible because, as you can see, what it connects to is going to be underneath the port. So we need to take care of this before we do anything else. Alright, let's solder mask this bad boy, and then we'll be ready to install our port. Oh, my good tweezers. Once more. So one little fiber here. Didn't want to go away. Alright, so we're going to put this in the oven, ultraviolet lamp, and then we will fill in that little gap right there so we have a nice thick connector. So I'll be right back. Okay, so this is all ready to go, and come to think of it, we don't really need to fill this in with solder, because when we attach the pad there, or when we attach to it anyways, that's all going to fill up. So we'll go ahead and take care of that right now. We'll set on our new port into position, and then we'll move the camera so we can see what we're doing. And let's clean this up a little bit. Don't need any excess flux underneath here. And this is one good argument for having the hot tweezers, because they do come in handy here. And we got a bridge, so let's clean this up. Alright, let's just check these pins. And those are all solid, except for this one, which is going to move a bit. Or is it this one? One of these two. Actually, yeah, so this one right here, that's okay. We'll clean that up when we're done. Let's go ahead and hit the anchors. Alright, see if these bad boys got all the way through. And let's see. I think we might have to heat it from this side. So we'll reinforce these on the top. It's either that or use a crazy amount of heat on the bottom, and rather just bring the iron over to this side. Make sure these dudes flow all the way through. You might still need a little more heat. Just the fact that one of these footings is damaged doesn't help, but we will make it work. Alright, should do the trick. Flip it around and pretend like we're left-handed for a minute. There we go. Alright, so that's looking better. You can see solder came all the way up inside like we wanted it to. Hit this. What's happening here? And I think this is our damaged anchor here. Alright, let's clean it up. Alright, one last cleaning because I am a fanatic about getting flux out of things. There's not a lot that can be damaged here, but I do find that the swab doesn't always remove every little remnant. So just take a brush to this and get that stubborn little residue out. And there you go. Now we're looking nice and clean.